Welcome to In the Black. We're on a mission to highlight a million Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Sterling McKinley. Join us as we explore the incredible journeys of successful Black entrepreneurs, revealing their strategy for building a profitable business that stays in the Black. Today, I'm speaking with Tariq DeLavallade, a serial entrepreneur and the executive director of the United Golfers Association, celebrating its 100-year anniversary. The UGA's mission is to build a vibrant community of golfers by hosting events, supporting young golfers, and advocating for diversity within golf. Tariq, welcome to the program.
Thank you, brother. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you so much for being here. So I'll start off every interview with a funny question or conversation. So in your opinion, who is the greatest golfer and caddy combination of all time?
I'd say that'd be Tiger and Steve.
Okay.
I'm sure no one would be different about that.
Right. All right. So I read your bio and I saw that you grew up in Chicago. And when I think about golf, I don't think about Chicago. So can you paint the picture of the first interaction, the first exposure to golf, and what made you fall in love with the game of golf?
My grandfather introduced me to golf when I was 4.
Okay.
And the first club I got was a putter. I still actually have it.
Right.
So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
50 years old and I have it's sitting out here in my kitchen.
Right.
So it's a putter. But he,
Okay. Awesome.
being from Chicago, my grandfather was involved in golf in many ways. He
Okay.
actually planned golf tournaments in the city. And so he was really well known around Chicagoland area as
Oh,
someone who
awesome.
was a planner, but also I wouldn't say a hustler, but back in those days in the late 50s and 60s,
Right.
everybody's writing numbers. But
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
definitely involved in golf, and he's the one who introduced me to the sport.
Okay. That's awesome. I mean, such a personal story. So you kind of asked my next question. So he was also, I guess, your early mentor, role model that kind of groomed you and taught you about golf. Is that correct?
Well, he passed away when I was 6, so I only had an opportunity
Oh,
to
okay.
be with him for a couple of years.
Right.
However, as you mentioned,
Hmm.
I had to fall back in love with golf later on in
Right.
life, and so I didn't pick back up until I was 28.
Oh, wow.
And then I've been playing golf consistently since then. So yeah.
Okay. Great. All right. So let's move into the UGA. Recently celebrate 100th anniversary. That's amazing. Congrats on that. But given
Thank you.
the historical significance of the UGA providing opportunities for Black golfers, talk about the lasting impact of the organization and the broader fight for racial equality.
So, United Golfers Association is, as in, thank you again. We're celebrating 100 years this year, and we
Right.
have a huge
Awesome.
event coming up actually next week. I'm not sure when this will
Okay.
come out, but it'll be February the 14th to the 16th, and
Okay.
it's going to be an Innisbrook Resort right outside of Tampa. Uh, UGA was and had to be an organization that was for diversity when it wasn't even a thing then.
Right.
Back in the early 1900s, golf was buzzing,
Hmm.
and Black folks were getting into golf at a rate that was pretty high compared to what we
Right.
probably think now. And what happened is that there was actually, fortunately,
Hmm.
it was actually founded right here in Washington, D.C. There were
Right.
8 people who was, look, this is, we're trying to play golf at uh, local tournaments, local golf courses,
Hmm.
trying to play in professional events. And they just kept being told no. And they
Right.
got to a point where frustration sets in. Black folks were gritty and we don't like the word
Hmm.
no. So we're going to try to figure out a way.
Right.
So what ended up happening is that we ended up, and 2 organizations was founded that year. It was the National
Okay.
Negro League, also United Golfers Association. So when you
Right.
look at baseball and golf, both of us actually
Mm.
launched our companies the
Right.
same year, obviously. And we were jamming for a very long time. We got up to close to 10,000 members as we got up to the
Wow.
1960s.
Okay.
We had some hiccups along the way where PGA of America decided that they didn't like the fact that we were the golf community within our culture was growing
Right.
too fast. And
Okay.
so what they did was they created something inside of their bylaws, Sterling, and they
Wow.
were very intentional about this. And they put that to be a member or
Hmm.
compete in any event that was a function of the Professional Golfers Association,
Right.
you had to be a male born in North America. Like they
Wow.
actually put that in writing.
Wow.
They put that in writing. So
Right.
over the next 30 years,
Hmm.
our organization was we basically went back and forth with judges, Supreme Court,
Right.
the organization, trying to get them to overturn it, which they did in
Hmm.
1961. But just because they overturned it didn't mean that everything was all gone. We still had issues.
Right. Right. Wow. That's an amazing story. A lot of background. Let me ask you this for my own information. So, were there we did we have our own black golf courses? If so, can you tell more about those and how those came to be?
So there was a movie called Idlewild. Remember that movie?
Yes. 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 Love that movie. Yeah.
Oscar 3000, Big Boy.
Right. Right.
So Idlewild actually was the first golf resort owned
Oh,
by a black family, and it
didn't
was
know that.
right outside Detroit, Michigan.
Okay.
So that was in 1914. So
Right.
like we're going way back, right?
Yeah.
So there was between 1914 and 1958, we had close to 34 golf courses where
Oh, wow.
black men and women purchased the land, tilled it, groomed it, built a property
Right.
on a facility on property so
Okay.
that people can go in there. It became a lifestyle thing
Right.
for us. However, when you own something back there in the 30s and
Yeah.
40s, they had ways of helping you to leave your property,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, to be financially, or they came and ran you off. And
Right.
so a lot of folks who did own end up losing their property over time because of people who had other plans to during those days. But yes, we did own many of
Right.
them. And there's
Hmm.
one golf course that's still up and running, which is
Okay.
called, and it's in Canton, Ohio.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
That's called
Thanks for
Clear
that background. I'm sorry. What was the name again?
Clearview. Clearview Golf Course is currently
Clearview.
owned and
Okay.
run by Renee and
Right.
her family.
Okay. Great. All right, so let's talk about your transition into being the executive director of the UGA. How did that come about? I know you're involved in many things that are related to golf and so on, but how did you transition into this role?
I was being nosy, Sterling,
Okay,
and
all
I've
right.
got a bit frustrated. And
Right.
you get frustrated, you start digging, asking questions,
Yeah.
and so I'm trying to understand why wasn't there a national organization for Black folks that had been around for a period of time that we
Right.
could all lean into, being like more not a parent, but more of like a umbrella organization that instead of it being regional or local, it had a national presence.
Okay.
And there wasn't one at the time, and this was in 2020. And so around January, I began digging. It took me a couple of months to do enough research, but I ended up
Right.
finding more information about the United Golfers Association.
Okay.
And what ended up happening is I called a lot of old golfers from the 60s and 70s and asked them
Hmm.
what happened to the organization and
Right.
where are we now with it. I looked online, there was no websites.
Hmm.
And so I said, you know what, let me just go ahead and bring it back.
Okay.
I called up a friend of mine, Andy Walker, and we just went
Right.
back and forth with trying to find a way to be able to resurrect it.
Hmm.
And we're almost close to 5 years in now, and
Awesome.
definitely excited about what's happening moving forward. We have some great national partnerships.
Great. Okay, so being that the organization kind of lied dormant for a while, as the executive director, what are some of your priorities to get the organization back up and going, and how does that tie into some of the original missions and values of the organization?
Our mission has always been to introduce, develop, and advance
Right.
African Americans in the sport. So
Hmm.
it doesn't matter if you're 8 years old or 18, or if you're 22, or if you're 28, or if you're 45. We want to be the organization that is on the leader side of opening up doors, We want
Right.
young people, the juniors, to be able to be introduced to golf. We have a pipeline issue right now, meaning we
Right.
just don't have enough young black
Enough.
golfers being introduced to the sport between the
Right.
ages like 8 and 12, and that's
Okay.
going to be an issue later on. But those are our three things. It's really about introducing golf to not just juniors but also adults, but then
Right.
developing them not just in their skill set, but knowledge on the sport and how it could benefit them later on in life or
Mhm.
as a professional, depending on what they do for a living.
Right. Tell me more about the UGA Developmental Golf Academy. How does that work, and how does that help golfers transition from, I guess, a novice or starter into being a lifelong golfer?
The UGA Golf Academy was created in his brainchild of Andy Walker,
Okay.
and his goal was how do we find more ways to like how a farming system is for
Right.
baseball and for
Exactly.
basketball. There is AAU, right? And they have over 60 sports in AAU,
Right.
but golf is one of those.
Hmm.
So we have to find ways to be able to have somewhat of a league and or have events, but then the academy is more of a developmental academy. So there's stages
Okay.
to the academy. And
Okay.
so whether you're a beginner, we wouldn't say that we're a grassroots organization.
Right.
There's hundreds of those across the US,
Hmm.
but for us, we wanted to be the next stage up above that. So once you
Right.
groom them, they've drinking the Kool-Aid, as we say, and they're like, look, I really want to play this sport. Then what we could do is once they start playing better and get to the next stage, then UGA should be able to come in and create a developmental plan. And so our
Hmm.
goal is to actually have 5 different satellite UGA golf academies
Okay.
uh, by the end of 2025. So
Right.
that'll be in California,
Hmm.
Houston, Atlanta, the DMV
Hmm.
area,
Okay.
Central Florida,
Right.
and those 5 areas will be where we'll get started. The goal is to have a hub and a facility here in the Washington, D.C. area that
Okay.
we're currently looking at places and locations for that. So the goal is to have a 15,000 square foot training facility that's indoors and outdoors where we can actually bring young people from all across the United States to come to this location and get trained.
Hmm.
And it's almost like we call it like a black IMG for golf,
Okay. Okay.
but
Great.
that's the goal.
Okay.
We'll hopefully we can break down and touch some of those things before the end of the year.
Great. Great. All right. Now, growing up, I played a lot of basketball. I wasn't the best player, but I tried. But I always tell people that I learned a lot of lessons from playing sports in high school and middle school. One of those is just the mental fortitude. Even though I felt tired, there was another level that I could go to, and I learned about teamwork. I learned about um, building on something that you may start off one way, but taking little steps every day, you'll grow. So, talk about that. What are some of the things beyond the game of golf that learning golf can help you develop?
So we actually put a blog out recently,
Okay.
and most of it about the IQ,
Right.
and then there's the EQ, which is the emotional intelligence,
Right.
and then we have we call in the golf industry also the golf IQ.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is happening is when you look at the emotional intelligence
Right.
of a young person, basketball, football, baseball,
Mm-hmm.
you right, one ball, right?
Yes. Yes.
But there's tools, tennis is one racket, one
Mm-hmm.
bat, one ball, just a
Right.
ball, depending, right? Golf is very different from that. You have 14 golf clubs in your bag, and every
Okay.
one of them you can, a good 20
Right.
different shots with one of these. And
Okay.
so a lot of the challenges that we talk about or we discuss is that a golfer a golfer's value to a university or a college or even a high profile high school is invaluable. Why? Because
Right.
we feel like they're more mature. They can handle challenges well.
Mm-hmm.
If they are, they have a little bit of a different grit. They're a
Right.
bit more tenacious because they have to be able to reset their brain and there's no time to wallow in that I had a bad shot, right?
Right.
Something in
Okay.
basketball, like you can shoot a bad shot and run back
Right.
up the court. You may not touch the ball for another, who knows, 10 minutes, but a golfer is going to
Right.
touch that ball in another 30 seconds to 45 seconds, depending
Hmm.
on how it takes them to get to the next hole.
Right.
What I would say is that, which is part of the reason why we have this new partnership with Inroads,
Hmm.
is they see value in what we're doing, and now we're going to
Right.
make sure that our young people have access to what they're doing at Inroads, and then in the same in reverse.
Hmm.
So
Right.
now what we're doing is building great young people on and off the golf course, so that when they get interviewed, they speak well, they're mature, their grades are
Hmm.
perfect, they're getting scholarships, so they
Right.
have a greater value to whether it be an employer at some
Hmm.
point, a university, college, or an organization if they're choosing to join at some point in their life.
Right, right. Yeah, I love what you said about every golf bag having 14 golf clubs in them. Something that I've always told my younger son, in school he's learning things, but I always said to myself, I think real intelligence, real genius is not learning how to memorize facts, but being able to take those facts and apply them to different situations. So like you said, each golf club had, you said, 20 different shots per that you can make.
Yeah.
So I think that does help prepare you for life, that no matter what thing you're faced with, that you can figure out how to accomplish that. So staying on that same topic, mental health is huge as well. So are there ways that
Yeah.
I've heard stories, people that be on the golf course, it calms them down, their blood pressure reduces or drops. So talk about the mental
Some
health
of
and
us.
well-being of playing of playing golf can have on you.
So yeah, you do hear people talk about golf being outside,
Right.
your nature, and
Hmm.
you can relax. And if you turn off your phone, you can
Right.
enjoy it more. If obviously if you play better, you'll be less stressed, because if
Right.
you trash, then you're gonna be pretty stressed out, breaking clubs. But
Right.
golf um, is and should always be looked at as um, a sport that uh,
Mhm.
creates experiences,
Right.
that you can travel around the world and go
Mm.
experience
Right.
golf by the ocean, by the mountains.
Mhm.
Uh, you go to Costa Rica and enjoy golf, and and within the wilderness. You can be in the city, in the
Right.
suburbs, private. So it's not where you're in a situation where you can just it's just one way. You
Right.
could take the same golf course in its design, it could be all anywhere in the world. So I think there's
Mhm.
something to be said about how much value and how much
Right.
investment is in golf. But I do believe that, you're based on your question, it's, for me, I say unfortunately, but it's a business now for me,
Right.
right? Golf is a business, where if I wasn't in the business, I do believe that I would enjoy golf a bit more,
Okay. Right.
but it's because it's work. But it's okay, because I chose this life of being in the
Right.
golf industry, so I'm here
Okay.
for it.
Right. Okay. Great. Going back to the UGA, many nonprofits struggle to measure success or impact. So beyond numbers, beyond members, people reach, how do you measure the success of your organization?
By the community's response to your efforts and actions.
Okay.
There's one thing to say, well, we've raised $1 million, and yeah, that's great. You can say that you've gotten X amount of kids in D1, D2, D3 universities and colleges and programs, but the community tells you, and corporate America tells you, whether or not where you are in your
Right.
journey. So
Hmm.
we now brought on Coca-Cola Beverages
Right.
Florida as a partner
Okay.
of ours, Cisco, we have AARP, we
Okay.
have a ton of apps, Encore Golf, Callaway.
Oh, wow.
These are companies that have come in and said, look, we love what you're doing. We want to be a part of it.
Hmm.
Um, Yes, there's sometimes a cost associated with some of these things that have to
Right.
be accomplished, but I would say our success will be based on the community around us
Mm-hmm.
as Black folk. We want to be able to have our membership. As our membership numbers grow, that means that people see value in what we're doing, and whether it be 10 or 20 or $50 a month or once a year, those numbers add up. So I
Right.
do believe having a golf community that wraps their arms around the organization is going to help us grow a
Mm-hmm.
lot faster and be protected,
Right.
especially during these days of uncertainty with diversity initiatives.
Right. Right. So let's do this. Let's look into the future 5 years from now. Let's go to 2030.
Oh boy.
What are your what are your bold aspirations for the UGA, and what kind of impact do you want to have on the golf landscape and also young golfers?
That's a big question. I know we don't have that much time. Uh, I'll pick three things.
Okay.
A mentor of mine said always do things in threes, and
And
then
three is right.
sometimes you can grow it. I
Mm-hmm.
would say for the number of Black children playing golf,
Right.
I would like for that to increase by 10x. When
Right.
I
Okay.
don't just I want them playing competitively, but I also want
Mm-hmm.
them playing to enjoy it. Because as
Right.
you enjoy it, then you get better, and then you're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, I think I got something here." So I would like to see that number grow by 10x, and that's not lofty. And the reason why I say that is because we have maybe only 1,600. If there's 233 kids in high school playing golf, we're
Mm-hmm.
less than 1% of that.
Oh wow.
So we're less than
Wow.
1% of that. That's not a huge number.
Right.
And so if I can get that number higher, then we could see more graduation rates with kids playing golf and going into HBCUs and playing competitively in college. That
Right.
is the goal. Um, I would like to see more Black women playing competitive golf at a high
Mm-hmm.
level.
Right.
That is a very important thing for us at UGA.
Right.
We are focused on investing in our Black women. We know
Okay.
how fragile they are, not just personally and but professionally
Mm-hmm.
in professional athletics. It's an issue. We already know
Right.
this. So right now, there's zero Black women playing on the LPGA tour.
Mm.
We'd
Wow.
like to get that changed. There's only
Right.
been 8 of them in the last 75 years, and right
Mm-hmm.
now we have. So
Wow.
that's an initiative. It's something that we have to
Right.
put our foot on, right?
Okay.
And work the magic. But it's going to take support from corporate America and also the community. And I would say third would be to get United Golfers Association to have a membership of up to 10,000 people.
Okay.
Um,
Great.
if I have 10,000 members paying $10 a month, well, that's $1 million a month.
Right. Right. Right.
But that money can be used
Mm-hmm.
very strategically, from scholarships and development and academies across the United States, employing people who are PGA professionals,
Right.
sponsoring golf to go out and play professionally on the
Mm-hmm.
tour, supporting them with mental coaching, mental awareness, swing coaching, and all the resources that we see a lot of the white golfers have the access
Mm-hmm.
to is because they have organizations and people and groups behind them
Right.
supporting them, not just with money, but with a
Mm-hmm.
different kind of a support. So that would be my goal, is to get up to 10,000. We have 4 million Black
Mm-hmm.
golfers in the US. I can't see how
Yeah.
10,000 is not
That's
something
doable.
that's
Yeah.
achievable. Yeah.
Right. Okay. We talked a lot about barriers to entry and young golfers. So, if you could speak to a young golfer, maybe they're in middle school or high school, and they're, thinking about golf, they play here and there. What would you give them? What advice would you give them to inspire them to continue to pursuing the game of golf?
Again, I'll pick three things. Minimize your distractions.
Okay.
That's most of kids now. They have so many distractions in life, and most of it's on their phone. So minimize your distractions. Um, find ways and opportunities to learn how to meditate and have
Okay.
quiet time.
Right.
Many when there's so much noise around them, they don't get a
Mm-hmm.
chance to just be still, and that will help them just in life, not just
Mm-hmm.
like right now for
Right.
golf. And the third thing would be tenacity.
Okay.
Have a tenacious spirit and fight for what you want, not
Right.
just for today, but for tomorrow and for what you desire to have in the future for your whether golf is your lifestyle, it's your job, or it's
Mm-hmm.
your it's something that you just enjoy as a career in a different way. But I would say those would be my big things: is minimizing distractions, learning how to meditate and find quiet time, and then being tenacious and being just in everything that you do.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So, how can our listeners contact you if they want to learn more about the UGA?
So, United Golfers Association, our website is www.unitedgolfersassociation.org. If you want to check out our website for the event, the UGA Invitational, it's ugainvitational.com. You can find us at United Golfers Association and UGA Invitational on Instagram and Facebook as well. We
Great.
look forward to anybody supporting us, corporate, individuals, or organizations who want to dig in and be a part of change in golf. It's the time. The time is now. And right now, if we can depend on corporate America sometimes to do things, we could definitely should be able to depend on our golf community, especially our Black golf community.
Great. Wow. Once again, Tariq, thank you so much for your insight information into golf. I learned so much, and like you said, I hope you inspire some young kid to get into the game of golf. So be sure to tune in next week as we interview another successful Black entrepreneur. As always, I'll leave you with a closing quote. I want to remember, in today's competitive business landscape, your business must embrace bold and innovative strategies in order to sustain profitability and stay in the black.